We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Get ready. The return of NBF. The NBF list prevails. Bob Arum is talking about Shakur Stevenson fighting Miguel Berchelt, and I want to talk about that in this video. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, I don't know how you found my video, but somehow, some way you made it. Please help others find the content by throwing a like on the video. It's quick, it's painless, and it helps others. Reach one, teach one, so they know the content is out there in the world of boxing, the best sport in the world, the sweet side. Let's get into it. Now, Sky Sports, they talked to Bob Arum. We're gonna look through some of it. It says Shakur Stevenson will be a, quote, superstar with rivals Miguel Berchelt and Oscar Valdez looming, says Bob Arum. What's next for Shakur Stevenson? Promoter Bob Arum says, I want Oscar Valdez to fight Emmanuel Navarrete. So let's get into it. Shakur Stevenson, destined for greatness and has elevated himself into a, quote, different category, says his promoter Bob Arum, who wants to pit him against Miguel Berchelt and then Oscar Valdez, right? He called out Valdez, who holds the WBC belt in the same division, saying he can't keep ducking. It's time to fight me. Me versus Oscar. There's nothing else to look forward to, right? And I made several videos about it. He beat Jamel Herring, and not only did he did it in dominant fashion. And to date, I think it's his best performance considering the level of competition, him stepping in as a challenger, and just all things considered. Top Ranks Arum, who promotes both, told Sky Sports, quote, we can suggest it to the fighters, but ultimately it is the fighters and their management who decide who to fight next. Bob Arum says, quote, I want Oscar Valdez to fight Emmanuel Navarrete and to match Shakur Stevenson against maybe Miguel Berchelt, who Valdez beat in spectacular fashion. We'd see how Shakur does with Berchelt, then we can match the winners. I think that's the way to go. That's what we will suggest to them. I hope to have Shakur back in the ring March or April 2022. Same thing with Valdez and Navarrete. Berchelt, also from Mexico, blah, blah, blah. We always knew, everybody knew Shakur was an amazing talent, but it's one thing to be a talent. It takes another to be a talent that becomes a crowd-pleasing fighter. Shakur now understands that. It was a great performance against a very skilled guy in Herring. Shakur, unlike his previous performances, didn't come out, win a few rounds, coast to victory. He came out to beat his opponent decisively. That puts him in a completely different category to before. I see this as an opening act for Shakur Stevenson. We will see greatness in the years ahead. And this is Shakur's promoter. Now, this is one of the major problems with boxing, the NBF list. In case you don't know what NBF, it stands for No Black Fighters. Now, this list was uncovered on Barbershop Conversations. There was an interview with longtime boxing manager Cameron Duncan. I made videos about it. A lot of people were talking about it. But this shocking interview, he says he used to manage Tim Bradley, used to manage Terrence Crawford, and he now works with Jaron Ennis, unless that's changed recently. And Cameron Duncan had a close relationship with Top Rank, and he says that they have very strategic matchmaking, and they have this thing called, they have like a dry erase board or chalkboard and everything mapped out and blah, blah, blah. And they have a thing that they refer to as NBF, No Black Fighter. And it's where the fighter won't get matched with said equivalent contemporary black fighter in this division because of the stylistic matchup could give whoever the non-black fighter is problems. Now we are starting to see that as Bob Arum is advocating for Shakur Stevenson coming off of what I believe to be his best career performance, stopping Jamel Herring, a champion, as the challenger in his second weight class. This is the problem with boxing. Bob Arum saying, first of all, he's saying he suggested and the teams decide. I doubt that's entirely true. But I digress. Regardless of that, Shakur is coming off a momentous performance. And why would you want to put him with a Mexican fighter that just came off of a harrowing knockout, brutal loss to the other guy when Shakur Stevenson himself said that he wanted to fight Oscar Valdez and he's a champion? So to me, this is bad business. And this is like when you get, let's say, relating it to the dope game. If you get raw, pure cocaine, right? And then you dilute it by cutting in too many cutting agents and baking sodas and, formaldehyde or whatever, fentanyl and stuff. And it changes the purity of that pure cocaine, right? And that's what happens in boxing a lot. People in suits, networks and whatnot, they get involved, and instead of just, boxing is very simple. It doesn't take rocket science. I'm not saying the art of actually boxing is simple. I'm saying what fans want, to build an attraction. If you do right by the fans and you're making strike while the iron's hot, more often than not, you're going to strike gold and people will shell out some cash. Now, I am realistic, so I understand not every single fight from a person is going to be their toughest fight ever. That doesn't make sense. So I'm aware of that. I'm aware that you got to have some filler fights. You can't just put them in treacherous fight after treacherous fight after treacherous fight and so on. Your shelf life would wear your fighter out, right? With no rest periods, even though some people have those type of schedules, right? Like Gabe Rosado, he just fought everybody from Triple G to David Lemieux. He fight Munguia. He fought Beck the Bull. You know what I mean? He just has one of them. J. Leon Love, Peter Quillen. He's just fighting anybody, But more often than not, you want to maybe space it out to a degree. But the bad thing for Shakur is Shakur, post-fight, his face was unscathed and he has a brilliant performance. Why water it down by making him fight the loser who got blasted by Oscar Valdez instead of the guy who actually did it? Meanwhile, Navarrete, he had trouble with Joet Gonzalez, a guy that Shakur Stevenson beat, previously and was the first to beat. And he's not even of the weight class. He's not even in that weight. So why would Bob Arum even be suggesting this? And this is the part of boxing that's a problem. Now, I'm going to play the clip of Shakur Stevenson calling out Oscar Valdez. I want it fresh in your mind. Roll the clip.
But here at 130, there's champions who want to fight. Who do you want to fight?
I mean, there's only one fight left at the end of the day. It's the biggest fight in the division. Oscar can't keep ducking. It's time for him to fight. It's me versus Oscar Valdez. There's nothing else to look forward to. The 130-pound division, we need to unify. Let's get it.
So you guys heard it. So we're all understood. Shakur Stevenson, after the Jamel Herring fight, called out Oscar Valdez, not Miguel Berchelt, right? But again, this is the politics of boxing. So for me, there's a lot of people, and I told you there's inherent problems in boxing, and you have some moles in boxing media, and they're COINTELPRO. They're not trying to help grow the sport of boxing. They get assignments from these networks and promoters who tell them what to put out and, grease their palms or whatever they got going on. But it doesn't make sense. Like, some people will focus on certain things. Like I heard after the Shakur Stevenson great performance with Jamel Herring, some people were advocating for Shakur and Gervonta Tank Davis. Notice the level of consistency that I have on my channel. There's no reason, because he said something about Tank and Tank's a star, they're not in the same weight class and they're not with the same situation, sides of the street. So why would I spend all of my time, Boxingego, deciphering who would win? Okay, yeah, it's a great fight. That's cool. But they're not in the same weight class. They're not with the same people. Why would I waste my time, my precious time, in trying to decide a fight that I know is really a pipe dream for right now? Plus, Gervonta, I mean, I don't know what their relationship is, but I know Tank had a recent camp, maybe Leo Santa Cruz, and you had Shakur came and visited him in camp. So I don't even know if that's the first guy he wants to fight, because there's other people in boxing Like, I don't think he has any type of relationship. Again, you have to ask Shakur. I don't know his exact relationship with Tank Davis, but Oscar Valdez, I'm sure it's lesser. I don't remember a time where Shakur went to visit Oscar Valdez in camp. So this is what I'm talking about, man. Boxing continues to try to light these small fires, and we're not addressing the big fires, the wildfires, the thing that's actually tearing up the Amazon, or, the forest fire that's burning acres. That's what, in my opinion, that's what I focus on. It's just like a cop. If there's somebody jaywalking versus you got murderers and people #Me Tooing women and all kinds of stuff like that, those are more heinous crimes. So I'm not going to be really worried about the jaywalkers as much as I'm going to be worried about the people strong arm robberies and grand larceny and homicide, blah, blah, blah. And that's what people fail to do. That's what makes my channel so special for the boxing game. Shakur shouldn't be fighting Berchelt coming off of a loss. Like, I'm pretty sure Berchelt never came back since the loss. So he would be fighting, and this is NBF, like I told you. So you'd be fighting a guy who got destroyed. Like, how can this build Shakur when he got beat twice, both by knockouts, and he's coming directly off the Oscar Valdez knockout earlier this year? How does that really benefit Shakur? You know what I mean? The guy doesn't have a championship belt. It's not a unification. And I don't really see the gain, because here's another thing. Shakur, based on his power and his style, he might be able to stop Berchelt. But then if he doesn't, based on his style, because he's probably going to take less punishment than Oscar Valdez. No, he's not probably, he will, right? Then people can compare the performance and say, oh, but Shakur didn't stop him, or it took 11 rounds for Shakur to stop him. I really just don't see what the gain is, especially when the guy he's calling out is a top ranked guy. The guy he's calling out is a champion, and it's a unification. And this is what boxing says they want. So why is it that I'm the only person in boxing media that calls these things out? Shakur's doing it, but I'm talking about boxing media people. We should push for the fight. Bob Arum saying that after the Herring performance, he gets it now and stuff. Okay, if he gets it, make the Oscar Valdez fight, because maybe that's what Shakur needed all along, was a fight that would push his gears to bring out the type of performance, and he did that. So let's let the good times keep rolling. And I had to save the best for last. Shakur Stevenson also called this out. He said post-fight, next to a top-ranked employee, you see in the picture, I'll feel like Bob Arum is protecting Valdez if I don't get that fight. So guess what? Shakur was right. They are protecting Valdez. And I'm going to dive into this deeper. It says Shakur's a superstar, but then you want to get him the guy that came off a loss, as opposed to the fight that means more. And you want to give another person the opportunity. And this is a big problem in boxing, because I told you the black dollar in boxing is not valued. A lot of these companies and networks and promoters think that black fan base is not going to pay for fights, so they prioritize UK fighters, or they'll prioritize Latino fighters. Like, he's talking about making Navarrete versus Valdez, and they're not even currently in the same weight class, but it's Latino versus Latino. It's Mexican American versus Mexican. You know what I mean? And that takes precedence. So like I said at the beginning of the video, NBF, because it robs the opportunity of guys like it's Terrence Crawford. He's another person with top rank, same thing. He could have fought Pacquiao, and then no one would have just cause to talk about his resume. But they didn't give him the Pacquiao fight, and then Pacquiao ended up losing to other people. And then guess what? Now all of a sudden people are still criticizing Terrence Crawford's his welterweight run and his resume in its entirety. So Shakur looks like he's in the same boat. He's in the same boat in the sense that you're not getting the more meaningful of the two fights. I'll talk about it more. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm out. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.